Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming to the unofficial second workshop that the unofficial Whispering Woods Retreat is doing. Thank you all for coming. I really, really appreciate it. Joan, our wonderful hostess, she has graciously opened up the space tonight, and we're going to be having for tonight. I'll tell you about tomorrow night. His partner, Debbie Anderson, will be here, and she's doing an evening of clairvoyance. So if you haven't heard about that, or you're interested in that, she will be doing readings for at least 10 people. So if you want to be part of those 10 people, come in tomorrow. But tonight we have Chris Lee. He is a clinical hypnotherapist. No, he will not have us barking like dogs, unfortunately, but he will be enlightening us on how perhaps our past lives are affecting chronic pain, fears, phobias in this life. And I've seen his lecture before. It's absolutely riveting. It's a couple hours long, but I promise you it goes really, really fast. So would you join me in welcoming Mr. Chris Lee?
Thank you. Everybody. I paid him well. Okay, as Michael pointed out, my name is Chris Lee. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, and I specialize in past life regression, but it's a system I've developed. It's very unique, and I'll explain how this works. Now, one of the first things I like to find out is where everybody is on the scales of belief in that. My system works that I help you, with my system, get rid of persistent aches, pains, fears, phobias, debilitating emotions using past life. But you don't have to believe in it for my system to work. I do get people that aren't sure. Usually men, that's why you don't see too many here tonight. But when they do, yet I work with 5 male medical doctors, so they do know that there's more to life than the placebo effect. So I'm going to ask 3 questions, first of all. The reason why I tell people what they are is because when I used to not mention it, they'd put their hand up for all 3 of them, because they didn't know there's more than one question. First of all, it's going to be who believes in past lives, who's not sure, and who doesn't. So who believes in past lives? Who's not sure? Who doesn't?
Me too. I'm going to sometimes. I go in and out.
So which one are you then? Not sure?
More to the yes, I believe
Okay.
in past lives. But then
And who doesn't believe in past lives?
Sometimes I'm not
Okay,
sure.
there's nothing here. Okay, well actually it does happen. I was doing a big talk I do talks, not lectures. This is a lecture. I do talks. A talk in Winnipeg one time, there was about 65 people there. Am I in your way? Okay. And what happened is that when I did say who doesn't, one lady slowly put her hand up. And everybody's looking at her. But she said, I have a good excuse. She said, my daughter believes in past lives and she needed a ride here tonight. So we let her stay, of course. She came up later on, she listened very intently, and she came up and she said to me, you make a lot of sense. You use a lot of logic. And I do use logic. Anybody offended with logic? Too bad. So, now the next thing I want to check on is how many people about hypnosis. Hypnosis is in my title, clinical hypnotherapist, yes. The other end of the scale is hypnotist. Not quite the same thing whatsoever. One's entertainment, one is what I do, and get rid of your aches, pains, fears, phobias, etc. So, first of all, show of hands, how many people here have ever been hypnotized?
I'm pretty sure I have.
Who hasn't been hypnotized?
Oh, sorry, I thought you said hasn't.
No, start with the nice one. Who has been hypnotized? Okay, well, actually, this is a pretty high hand count here. The ones that didn't have the hand up for having been hypnotized, you're fibbing. But I'll explain why. We are in hypnosis 5 to 20 times per day.
Yeah.
You just didn't know what it meant. You see, I'll give you some examples of hypnosis. Does anybody here remember high school? Did you ever have a boring subject and you daydreamed? Daydreaming is hypnosis, deep relaxation. Another example of hypnosis, has anybody here ever read a book or watched TV so intently you don't hear people talking to you? You're in hypnosis. Who stole my pens? Okay.
That's why the French fries burned.
You're in hypnosis. And another way of explaining hypnosis, has anybody slept in the last 24 hours? That's hypnosis. Deep relaxation. How much deeper relaxed can you get sleeping? So show of hands, how many people here have been hypnotized? Obviously, it's unanimous. Okay. So I got that out of the way. One of the things that does throw people off about hypnosis, besides watching too much television, and hard to believe, but not all television is accurate. It's called entertainment. If it looks better that somebody gets a phone call and all of a sudden becomes a zombie, kills people, oh, that's entertaining. It's impossible. It does not happen. So that is why I do a talk. This is the talk. No hypnosis goes on. But I have found through the years that more people come to a talk first to find out more about it. Because it's hard to believe, but there are people out there with a fear of hypnosis. They think you lose control. Does anybody here like to lose control? Nobody does. And you don't. You don't lose control. So, now, a good example is the hypnotist on the shows. Has anybody ever seen a hypnotist show? Has anybody been on the stage? Okay, so you're going to know. Then you'll be able to confirm what I'm going to say. On the stage, first of all, they like to bring up lots of people because they can. But they are looking for a category of people. It's called somnambulistic. It took me a year to pronounce that. And that's about 10%. There are people that already don't really care much. They're having a lot of fun. They're not as inhibited as most of us. So when they go up, you'll ask, would you like to stay? And those people say, yeah, sure. Now, in hypnosis, though, on the stage, they start acting about the age of 7 or 8 or younger. Here's a tough question. Is it hard, do you think, for somebody 7 or 8 or younger to act silly or play musical instruments that aren't there or bark like a dog? No. It's just so simple because they're having a bit of fun. All the people on stage are 100% aware of what they're doing. If you watch a production quite closely, you will notice that during the evening they will send people off the stage. Not all in mass, but one here, one there. You ever notice that? Now, here's some logic for you. If they're sending them off stage, well, wait a minute, aren't they under his control? Well, it's because they're not under his control, but kids get bored. You can imagine after a while they don't want to jump up and down, so they just sit there. Well, it doesn't look good for his production, so he does say, thanks for coming, get off the stage. So there is no loss of control. I still get people that, introduce me to their friends and say, he's a hypnotherapist. You ever notice that every trade seems to have a stereotype joke that everybody thinks that they made it up? Give me a nickel. So a lot of them will do this. They'll quickly look away. So I like to bug these people. So I say, why did you do that? And they usually say, you might hypnotize me and make me do something I don't want to do. So then I look at them and say, okay, if I could do that, why am I here? There's more money in Las Vegas. Go and hypnotize the dealers that I won every time. Or headlines, 6 more banks robbed by hypnotists. He made me give them the money. What a load of crap. It doesn't happen because there's no loss of control. So that's why I like to have a talk, because I've done this. I've done this in 6 countries. I've done this talk over 220 times. And I have found that the majority of the people that come to my talk end up booking a session. But before they come, it's almost zero. That's why I tell people that are hosting me, just fill the seats, because I'll explain what I do. So, now I took my training as a clinical hypnotherapist in Vancouver about 24 years ago. And there was 24 of us, and we were teamed up, and I was actually teamed up with a medical doctor. He was tired of giving people pills for the placebo effect. So, during the production, the event, the training, the rented lips, somebody must have said to the head teacher about past life. Now, I wasn't sure about that. Us males were more, skeptical, but I knew there was something out there besides being made to go to church and kneel on hard pews for years. So what I did, I had my book out, and he said, who wants to volunteer, or wants to see, a production or a demonstration? So 24 hands went up. Who wants to volunteer? 24 hands came down. Okay. It wasn't like they were afraid, but they just wanted to see it a bit more. So we bantered back and forth. You go, you go, you go. Finally, Hugo got up. You guys are good. I do give out virtual cookies for people that laugh at the right time or answer the right questions. I think you all got a cookie on that one. I've had some people where it's just like, and I say it's a joke. So anyhow, it was one of the students, one of the females. She came up, and he regressed her back to the 1930s as a boy about age 9 or 10 in the States playing on train tracks. So I went, because she was describing it quite clearly. Then, unfortunately, a train came along, and the switches were electric even back then, and it caught the boy's foot, and unfortunately he got run over. It's okay, he came back. Different life. So I went, made more notes. Then he regressed her to 1942 as a female in her 40s in London. What was going on in 1942?
War.
Which one?
World War II.
Yes, more cookies. So, there was a bombing raid going on. So I went, wow, made more notes. And then I thought, this is very interesting. But what really got me into doing past life is the next day she came to class. She got in front of the class and said, guys, she said, I've always wondered why I hated trains and thunder. You see the connections already? And I went, whoa. But then she said, it's gone. Doesn't bother her. That's how quick it is. That's how I work, and I'll explain it in a bit. So I finished my program, my training, got my big certificate, and I went and started my practice in Chilliwack. Ever heard of Chilliwack? Yeah. Actually, I was just there at my last talk, so I had to break it down to Sardis to make more sense. And when I'm further west or east, I have to say it's not the band, it's Chilliwack. Now, what I find amusing, though, is you ever hear that, or when they use that expression, practice, start my practice, haven't they learned yet? Why are they practicing? I want somebody that's finished, not practicing. But it's just terminology. But I learn something all the time. A couple of weeks ago, I learned something new. What would you guys do if your clothes were on fire?
The wrong thing.
Rock and roll, I hear quite a lot. I don't know about you, but if my clothes were on fire, I wouldn't put them on. 5-year-old girl on Art Linkler. Remember that? Kids say the darndest things from back in the old days. So, anyhow, I set up my practice there in Chilliwack, and the stereotyping for clinical hypnotherapy, clinical is only current life, that's what most of the schools teach, was to generally do your smoking, weight, and confidence. So I found that using that current life regression, that my effectiveness was about 20-25%. Is that good with this? This way you know you're still here and you're to exercise. So I decided maybe I should check further onto this past life because it was quite interesting and effective. So I started reading books of some interesting authors. Michael Newton, Life Between Lives. Anybody heard of that one? Many Lives, Many Masters. Anybody heard of that one? That was with Brian Weiss. He was a psychiatrist. Who else was there? Richard or Dick Sutphin. Okay. He's actually an American. He had a lot of books out. He's the one that discovered the energy in Sedona, Arizona. Has anybody been there?
Yeah.
More than 3 times? Even if you just go for the scenery, it's beautiful. Red rock and plateaus. So, or Albert Hitchcock, anybody read those? Yeah. Just want to see what you're. Just want to see what you're reading. Okay. So I started practicing. I had some volunteers, and I would get one of the books out and start. He does this, so I tried it. It worked. Tried it. Worked. It was working really, really neat. These guys seem to know what they're talking about. So I decided to add that past life to my practice, and I found the effectiveness was now about 95%. Is that good with this?
Yes.
But, everybody's got a but. There's a downside to being 95% effective. Anybody know what it might be?
No business.
Yes. Cookie for her. Yeah, most people say 5%. But no repeat business. Because my system takes care of it like that. Done. If it's not coming back, why in the heck would you come back to see me? That's ongoing therapy where you come back over and over and over. Just going to move this
Now
book.
you get the cookie.
Thank you. It's also gluten-free, one of those things. Okay, always looks like Latin to me, but anyhow, gluten-free. So, I finished staying in Chilliwack, and I wiped out the town. Didn't take long. So, I decided to do something different. I decided to go to England for a while. And I also started doing something I hadn't done before, was to do workshops. This is not a workshop. A workshop would mean that I'm having you all slow down and go to your past lives and stuff. No, we're not doing that. Because I didn't get very many at the ones in England because a lot of people had a fear of hypnosis. That's why. So, now when I did the groups, what I would do is I'd have everybody just slow down, eyes closed, and then I'd say, let your subconscious show you a nice past life. Remember what gender you were, what kind of a day, what town or city you're in, what country, that time. Just a few of those things. The reason why it has to go that way is because I can't ask each of you as I'm doing this what you're doing or seeing because you hear each other. A lot of people think it's La La Land, you float away and haven't got a clue. No, stop watching television. So, the only thing is then in between I'd have everybody come up a bit and then we'd chat about what they saw and stuff like that. The thing that I found extremely interesting was in a group this size, 3 or 4 of you would have been in the same past life and you didn't know each other. Now that made me go, okay. Now let me explain why that happens. What happened? A little aside for the moment. Does anybody here have a soulmate? Wrong, you don't. You have a soul group. You have a soul group. Okay. Some of the people in your group might be more often with you. But when you get people to say they have a soulmate, but 20 years later, they're not there.
Yeah.
So obviously it wasn't quite a soulmate. Soul group. Now, I'm not here to profess or profound on what you should believe in, how further goes up the scale and stuff like that. Because if you get really heavy into questions, I have a good answer. I'll say, I don't know. Because I'm not here to teach you that. You can read it in books. My level of what I do is to help you get rid of the aches, pains, fears, and phobias, etc., that prevent you from doing your life lessons. Okay, and I'll get to that in a bit. So what happened was, when you come into the human form, you've all heard of that, we're supposed to learn lessons, or probably heard that, yeah. So what happened is your group, whatever size it is, in a session I'll have you find out how big your group is and who's in there. You won't recognize all of them because some of them might be in your life now and you're not supposed to know, or else you wouldn't take them seriously. Apparently, we get together, we work out what lesson we're going to learn this time, maybe self-love or patience, or there's a number of lessons. You decide who's going to be the good guy, it's not a chick flick, so somebody's going to be a bad guy, and different roles. We come into the human form, and apparently the moment we come into the human body, we totally forget what the lesson is. The main reason for that is because if you had the script in your hand, how would you learn? Oh, today I got to be happy, I don't feel like it, you wouldn't learn. But the interesting thing is when we do bump into one of your soulmates, you won't recognize them as a soulmate, but you'll be somebody all of a sudden like, wow, it's like I've known this person all my life. Or that guy over there, I just met him, can't stand him, don't know why. They'll both be from your soul group. So there's strong enough energy that you will sort of feel it, but you're not really supposed to know. But you're supposed to work with each other. So these groups when they did those workshops, those people that were in the same past life, they were from the same soul group. It was meant for them to finally bump into each other and start working with each other. Because how can you work with somebody that's maybe on the other side of the world and you never see them? No. So a lot of your soul groups can be, and often are relatives, close friends, or your worst enemy. Okay. So I decided that after doing 6 or 7 of those, actually a little funny one here on the side. The first one that I went to, a woman put it on for me in England. It was on a Sunday and above a pub. It was easy. The pubs rented out their stuff on Sundays because people were too busy going to church. But my people don't. They came. I looked out the window, hot day, and along comes this lady with a great big cooler in her hand. So as she come in, I said, try to be funny, British humor is different than Canadian. I said, you feeding everybody? She didn't think that was funny. In fact, almost everything I did that day, she didn't think was funny. She'll be here tomorrow night. Her name is Debbie Anderson. Debbie Anderson. Just felt the emotion from that one. Yes, we've been in many lives together, different roles. So she's here tomorrow. She used her maiden name, Anderson, instead of Aardvark. Just kidding. Anderson. So, now I decided and realized that this works better. To have a chat, explain what it's about, and then you decide. So, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to draw a diagram. It's called the mind. Now, this isn't complicated. It's just a little diagram. But you probably have heard we learn better by hearing and seeing. If I give you some figures, it'll be gone like that. But if I haven't written down, you might go, well, don't look, I won't remember. Okay. So, I'm going to draw a picture of the human mind. This is not the brain, it's the mind. And I need a model. Think Joan. You just stay there, you don't have to get up. Just close your eyes. I'm going to draw a picture of Joan's mind. Okay, you can look now. A little faded there. It was a little faded there. You can see why I didn't take art very long in high school or grade school. Kindergarten, maybe. Now, you might notice a little gap here. It's good to have an open mind. I get that one from my audience one time. Oh, there you go. Now, just a couple quick questions. There's no pride. Oh, the cookies are. Oh, yeah, forgot. Cookies are still available. The human mind is made up of two parts. Anybody guess what those parts might be? Yep. Other than my two hypnotherapist friends here. The talk that I met Michael, there was one woman who knew all the answers. Finally, I'd say anybody besides this lady here, anybody else. Conscious and subconscious. Some people it's the unconscious, but anyway. Conscious, subconscious. Everybody heard that? Okay. So I'm going to put con and sub because easier to spell and not enough room. Here's a little thing. One of them is bigger than the other. Let's see who can guess. Who thinks the conscious is bigger than the subconscious? Sometimes people just follow my head. Well, what do you think the answer is? Yes, you're right. Cookies for everybody. Now, when we are born, these two are actually together. They only separate around the age of 7 or 8. Isn't that the age of people actually silly up on stage? Yes.
You what?
Who died?
What did you just say? At that age, but not the age when people what?
Act silly up on stage on hypnotist shows.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, sorry. Because I didn't hear you said it. Ventriloquist there.
What does that word mean? And
Who stole my red pen?
Ventriloquist?
what did they do at grade
God.
13?
Now, around 7 or 8, they separate. That's when logic starts coming in and people start teaching their kids stuff that they learned from their parents and they got from their grandparents. And it doesn't mean it's right, though, was it? We pass on stuff. So, now, there's a layer that comes in between the two. It's called the critical layer. It's the only big word I use. What's it called?
Critical layer.
Oh, good. More cookies for everybody. Now, what happens is that the conscious and subconscious, okay? The conscious is actually just a processor. It's never been to a past life, hasn't got a clue about them. But the conscious has an ego problem. Likes to think it's clever. It's not. It gets in the way. Okay. The subconscious is powerful. It stores. It is the most powerful computer types out there. It stores everything. If you've had 10 past lives, 100, 1,000, it's all in here. Every single second of everything you've done. In fact, in current life, I can take you back and you can watch yourself being born. Because I teach you also to move out and watch yourself, not just through the eyeballs. And in fact, the first time people say, well, why would I want to do that? Well, the first one I had client was actually a woman who came in. She wanted to know why she looked more like her older sister than her mother. Turned out the older sister was her mother. But everybody was happy about, sharing that knowledge. So it does happen. When I took the training, the percentage of what these are to each other, it was a day when I learned, it was before internet. Anybody heard of that? I need you to just move over about 6 inches to your left. Just a bit more, yeah. Because this lady's hiding behind you. Thank you. So, the internet. So we were given figures, and I used them. And then as the internet came along, I started checking further, and sure enough, the figures we were given, percentages, were pretty accurate. In fact, the one I like using is the one from some unknown guy, Albert Einstein. Anybody heard of him? Yes. The conscious is actually only 5% of your mind. What's the balance? Yes, I can hear cookies coming out here. 95% for the balance. Now, it can vary a bit. See, I've got these lights in my house.
Okay, well, the critical is in there, so it must be.
It's a barrier.
percent.
It's a barrier.
Oh, okay.
Nobody ever asked me that. I'll give you a cookie, though. Okay. Nobody's asked me. I'll explain. It's a layer. It's not part of the mind. But, anyhow. So, 5 and 95%. Let me see my red pen. Oh, okay. So anyway, now, again, conscious, subconscious. This layer here is actually the critical layer. You can also call it the junk level. It's actually a protection for the conscious. Think of the logic. If you have 1,000 past lives, and every day as you walk along, all the memories are flooding up into your conscious, I'd be crazy within, you'd be blowing your mind. It's a protective layer, a buffer, you can call it, and it keeps it separate. Now, the subconscious works on what the conscious tells it, okay? Or if you're not quite talking to it, it will work on repetition. Good example of repetition. Has anybody here got a job they go to the same way pretty well over and over, or have had a job like that? Have you ever had a time when you decided to go home from work and you're driving along and you're in the driveway and you go, oh shit, how did I get here?
Yeah.
I was going to stop for groceries or something. Oh, I hope I didn't run over anybody. I always check the wheel wells. Okay. And I didn't go through red lights because it won't. Your subconscious works in repetition. It knows how to get home. It knows you're not paying attention. It likes to keep you alive, or else you'd have to go get another job. And it gets you home. Now, or another thing about jobs, anybody ever hear somebody say somebody's got expertise? No, they've just done the job enough times it becomes automatic. So, works on that stuff. Conscious, as I said, is just a processor. Now, why do you think we have to sleep every 24 hours? There's cookies at stake here. New bed, new sheets, new house. It's actually this direction. Your conscious actually has a memory, but it only holds what you do today. It stores it up in here. Can't get down to here because this layer's in the way. And it can get full. You ever have a time in school when you're studying too hard and all after a while it feels thick, like it's not working? It's because you filled it up. Stop. It's not going to work. We go to sleep at night. Now, basically, why we have a hard time getting to the subconscious is the speed. Your conscious basically is bouncing around at 22 cycles per second. The subconscious is about 7. So you can see there's about a 3-time difference. Good example of how it's harder during the day to get to memories is anybody remember trying to drive a standard car back in those days and you grind the gears because they're not meshing well. So what happens is that when you go to sleep at night, you're slowing your 22 down to 7. This layer disappears. Everything you did for the day is filed and sorted. That's how it has to be. It's also where you get some of the dreams. Or maybe you saw somebody that day and they're in your dream, but it's a totally different type of dream. It's just different files being adjusted. If we don't have a good night's sleep, that can screw it up. Anybody here ever have a time you don't get a good night's sleep? Everybody has that. So maybe you say you only had a half good sleep. That means half of it's still full. When you got a bad night's sleep, you wake up, you're kind of groggy, aren't you? It doesn't take long before you're actually going to fill it back up again. It's half empty, or the half full, one of those two. Okay. So a good night's sleep. So I also help people. Now, is anybody here? Okay. Little side here. There's 2 ways of going to sleep at night, quick and slow. Who goes quick? Who goes slow? About half and half. Some of the quick people always try to amuse me or trick me. Some of the people go to sleep quick. Don't mention in the middle of the night they wake up and stay out for 2 hours. Does that some of that happen? Yes. Well, I can help you with that sleeping. Oh, wait a minute. I happen to have a CD here called Relaxation Plus. Not just relaxation, but Relaxation
Plus.
Whoa, you guys are good. I got some more later. I won't have to ask you to speak up. You guys are good. This is actually basically helps you sleep better. It's also self-hypnosis. Because remember, All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. Nobody forces you to daydream. Nobody, because you have to watch out for the teacher. And so you're aware. Nobody forces you to read a book and ignore people. Nobody forces you to go to bed at night. It's all self-hypnosis. I cannot hypnotize you. None of us can hypnotize you. It's all self-hypnosis. I help you when you work in a session. In fact, when I start off in a session with you, I'll ask you, may I work with you? If you say no, there's nothing I can do. I can't say, relax, because even that tone isn't good. But you can't relax. You relax. I just help you relax. And the more relaxed you get, the more advantage, more info you can get from your subconscious.
Wow.
Oh, okay. These lights. Aha moment. Yeah. These lights are interesting. So, there's a couple more things I want to mention about we work on repetition that we should take advantage of doing it properly. Quick one here. Does anybody here know how to swim? Who can't swim? Just one? Well, it's not too bad. The ones that learn to swim, there's two ways of learning.
Drowned in the past.
Many times it happens. Okay. Now, the ones that learn to swim, there's two ways of learning to swim. Lessons are getting thrown in. Who got thrown in? And you're still here. And you're still here.
Still being thrown.
Yes. We are an animal. Animals can survive. We are born with the ability to swim. Cats don't like swimming, but you could throw the cat in. It won't like you anymore, but it will still survive. There's a company down the street I had checked on a few years ago. What they used to do is they would take the parents, put them in a windowless room, lock the door, right next to the pool. They take the baby, their child, 6 months to a year is ideal time, throw the child into the water. It's swimming. They take a video of it, take it back out. Parents, bring the parents out, show them the video. And you can imagine their reaction seeing this video. Because if they had seen this happening, what would you think they would have done? Jumped in, wouldn't they? Jumped in to save the child that's swimming. I'm going to save you from drowning. I'm swimming. Okay, it's a natural reflex. Here's a profound statement. We do not take lessons to learn to swim. We take lessons to learn how to overcome the fear of drowning. It's been drummed into us. Becomes the bad junk repetition. I call it junk, the stuff we often work off of. The other two I'm going to mention are actually a bit more interesting. Memory. Who's got a memory? Who used to have a memory? Who wants to improve their memory? Okay. If you notice on my poster, I'm sure you read it all, that even not just a talk tonight, but I do throw in a couple of things for you, how to improve your memory within 2 or 3, 4 weeks, how to get rid of a stress headache in 60 seconds. That sound interesting? Okay, we'll get to that in a bit. Now, memory. The interesting point is your subconscious is quite a powerful thing. Very accurate. Does what you tell it. It reads a page at a time. It has a perfect memory. You hold up a page in focus, within a second it's in there. But we don't make use of that. Why? Because we've created junk that it has to work off of. The junk is, how did we learn to read? You remember?
Letters.
One word at a time. One word at a time, over and over, one word at a time. That's your junk level. So when you go to read, the subconscious is going to say, oh, he or she is going to read again. Which word do you want first? It works that way. You ever heard of speed reading programs? They're actually out there. They teach you to learn a line at a time, then a paragraph, then they teach you how to read a whole page at a time. Are you getting smarter? No, you're catching up to the subconscious. It does it already. This brings me up to a point where, do you remember in high school, and there always used to be at least one person you knew that got great marks that never studied? Weren't they annoying? It wasn't me. Anybody? Was it anybody here? Okay, there's one in the back. Yes, there's always one or two. Now, the interesting point I'm making here is that all the years of doing these talks, there's usually at least one in a group. I have found that the common factor, though, for those that got great marks that never studied was they were lazy. And they always smile like he's doing right now. They were lazy. Were they smarter? Not really. They were lazy. They couldn't be bothered studying. Because we also have other blocks in here. Must study to be smart. Must cram for exams. Have you heard of those blocks? If you believe them, subconscious says you better go and cram. I got the information, but you can't have it unless you cram. Well, the people that don't study and get good marks, they don't have a block. They say, it'll come. I remember it last time. There's one fact, you do have to have read the book. You can't just put it to your forehead and get it through osmosis or something. Psychic. So you're through your third eye. That's a good one. Your third eye just read it for you. I think I'll use that one next time. So, but one guy said he just thumbed through the pages. That's how quick it is. That's how quick your subconscious will absorb. So I'm going to help you with your memory today. How to improve your memory. Let me explain one more thing. All right, ask you another question. Has anybody here ever had a time you couldn't remember somebody's name? It's unanimous. What's even more annoying is when you're talking to that person. Oh darn. They're probably wondering if you had cramps or something because you're going, what's their name? I can't remember their name. I'm brain dead. I used to remember. I can't remember. Now, you ever notice that maybe 5-10 minutes later or 3 a.m., you remember the name? 3 a.m. I'd call them up and say, I remember your name. But that's a bit tacky. Now, I'm going to ask you a question that nobody gets to answer, and I admit I didn't either. Nobody's had the right answer yet. Why does it pop up later?
Because you relax. Because you were relaxed.
That's what everybody says. I said that too. Wrong. Here's a very important thing. Your conscious, subconscious. Your subconscious does what it tells it. When you were looking at that person, you said, I can't remember that person's name. I'm brain dead. I forgot that name. You gave it a directive. It stops looking. Wasn't intentional, but the moment you say, I can't remember that name, it does what you just said. Be careful how we talk to ourselves. But a little later on, it comes back and says, okay, she or he's gone. Well, not thinking about it. He's still there. She's there. And I'll go find it. They only wait another minute. It was on another program or something like that. And I'll throw it up into their mind, and they're all happy. So it's not anything to do with relaxing whatsoever. It's how you talk to yourself. Be careful about negativity. A lot of people still give it out like it's free money or something. In Smithers, BC, you ever heard of Smithers? Yeah, because you're more close to it. She said that she had gone for a while. She started going to Timmy's with her 3 older lady friends, okay? They'd get their tea or whatever. And they would sit down, and all 3 of them, she said, would bring out their pill trays. They would brag about who had the most pills to take. That's sad. She said they were bragging. Half the pills were for the side effects of the pills that you shouldn't be taking anyways. It's sad. She said you should be bragging about not taking pills. Does anybody here take no pills? Right? That's very good. I don't either. But pharmaceutical companies seem to be in business, don't they?
I should be taking them.
No.
I get more attention.
Okay. Different direction. Okay, I'll catch that. After 2 weeks, she said she stopped going because it was too depressing. Hypochondria. Now, what it's all about is that your subconscious works on stuff. I use technical terms, stuff. Past lives, most of us believe in it, or some aren't sure. I wasn't sure, but I've seen thousands of them, and there's a commonality, so there must be something there. But again, if you think you made it up and your pain disappears, which it will, it doesn't really matter, does it? So you can use your imagination. Now, what happens is all of this is, the culprit is actually your body cells. Your body cells have memories. The AMA, American Medical Association, has given me some new material I can use, not personally, but I use, is that they have proven through testing that people with organ transplants are picking up the traits of the person that had that organ. One guy hated pizza, loves it now. I just say make sure you don't get an organ from a serial killer. They wouldn't give you that. So, body cell memory. All of our aches and pains, fears and phobias and all that kind of things is actually from past lives where you haven't finished the lesson. You have a lesson to learn. If you don't, remember. Okay. Now, there's 2 reasons why you don't learn. One is you just went goofy and went in the wrong direction. You're supposed to be Mother Teresa and you became a serial killer. I think you screwed up. Or you get killed too soon or die too soon in that life. The interesting thing about past life or the lessons is when you leave that life and you're into this one, they don't go away. You'll start off this life with a new one, plus many other ones you haven't finished. The ones you haven't finished, they bring in the aches or pains, whatever, the fear with it. Because your subconscious says you haven't finished a lesson, we've got to keep you the way you were. Like if you were hung and hadn't finished a lesson, that is why 40% of the world, about 30% of the world, cannot wear stuff around their neck or have people touch their neck. We gave it a title, I call it the turtleneck syndrome. It covers that. Anybody here have that problem around their neck?
Claustrophobia.
No, we're talking about one thing, please, one thing.
Past life, I was hung like or
Yeah. It just means you were hung, strangled, or beheaded in a past life. Okay. So, easy to get rid of. We're thinking of selling turtlenecks, but too many colors, too many sizes. So, it brings the stuff in. That is where it comes from. Now, we don't know what it is because we don't know where it came from. Good example now. I'm going to explain a couple things. The word imagination. Anybody heard that word? I'm going to make you a profound statement. There's no such thing. I like the look on people's faces. Okay, I'll show you. I need everybody to close your eyes for about 2 minutes, please. Except the cameraman. Okay. In your mind's eye, ladies, I want you to see or sense or visualize a lemon. A big, bright, yellow, sour, juicy lemon. Cutting it up and taking a bite of one of those pieces of sour lemon. Feel that texture. Swallowing it. And one more piece of that sour, juicy lemon. Okay, open your eyes, please. Some of you weren't very polite. You're making faces at me. Some of you were a bit polite, and some didn't taste it. Now, show of hands, how many people had a bit of mouth watering or more? Okay, I didn't say put them down. I'm counting. Okay, who didn't? Who didn't have any taste? Yeah, it's a minority. But I'll explain something. I use a lemon. Actually, some people say, well, I like lemons. So what? Still make your mouth water. I use a lemon because it's the most common thing for making your mouth water. But I had one lady one time. She insisted, it doesn't work. I said, what's your favorite dessert? There were about 25 people there. She said, pumpkin pie. I said, close your eyes. She closed her eyes. We all stared at her. And I said, picture in your mind's eye somebody serving you a piece of warm pumpkin pie with a big pile of whipped cream all over it. Within about 10, 15 seconds, the lady with her was passing her tissue because this lady with the pumpkin pie was wiping her mouth. So I can't always find a food. Lemon's the most popular. Now here's the profound thing I'm making, a profound statement. Your mouth is watering, or for a food I can find for you. But wait a minute, that means your body is reacting, correct? But wait a minute, there's nothing in your mouth. So what's it reacting to? Give you a hint. Starts with one word. Memory, yes. Cookies around. Memory, you've tasted one. I guarantee you 100%, if you've never had a lemon in your life, never tasted it, you cannot make your mouth water. You can't say, I'm going to imagine what it tastes like. I'm going to make my mouth. Your subconscious goes, what are you talking about? It cannot react to anything but a memory. You've had it before.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. So, therefore, there's no such thing as imagination, is there? But maybe from past lives. But again, the bottom line is if you think you made it up and it works, it's not that important. Now, back to this other part. Okay, how your past life problems affect you or you feel them. Okay, I call my system the unknown noise. Very fancy. The unknown noise. My last name isn't unknown. Okay. The unknown noise. Here's another word picture I want you to do. You can keep your eyes open this time. Pretend you're living alone. It's a dark, spooky, windy night and the wind's howling. Howl. Oh. Okay, thank you. Good. Good to have some sound effects. Okay. The wind's howling. And middle of the night there's a crash. And there's a crash and you jump up and go, what the is that? I'm very polite. It's an adult show, or unrated show. Nope. Anyway, crash. And you realize, here it again, it's just the wind blowing a branch against the window. So, if you're like me, I'd just go back to sleep. It's not going to break. Later that night, there's another crash. You jump up and go, what the is that? And you realize, you hear it again, you go, wait, I don't know what that noise is. It's a sound I've never heard. That's when you start running amok. Somebody coming to kill you, boogeyman, burglar, whatever. So unless we check it out, which most wouldn't, we resort to childhood. We pull up our bulletproof covers and trying to get some sleep. Not sleeping well because you still hear that noise. Get up in the morning, you got to go to work, not refreshed. You go out the door, still windy, and you hear that noise. It's to your left, and you quickly look around, and you realize it's just a metal garbage can. Neighbor's got new metal garbage cans. He used to have the bags. Dogs prefer bags, but he didn't like the mess. You're going to make a profound statement plus adjectives about the stupid neighbor. And the profound statement is, it's a garbage can. Okay? Next night, another dark, spooky, windy night, the wind's howling, and the garbage cans blow over again. 50-50, you don't even wake up. But if you do, you're going to make your profound statement again, which is, garbage can, and the stupid neighbor. There's actually a point here. The noise is the same both nights. Why does it bother the second night? Simple answer.
Yeah, you know what it is.
You know what it is. Thank you. Big cookie for you. You know what it is. Now, unless you feel the garbage cans are coming to kill you, you would let it go. But until then, you didn't know what it was. Now, here's something I want to mention. I am not a reader. I don't read and say, oh, you were a gypsy in a past life. You might have been, but you know what that would be for you and me? Who cares? Is it going to help you get rid of the ache in your leg? No, unless you're dancing too hard or something. No, I'm not a reader. If I did read, I still wouldn't tell you. Because here's an example. On that one with the garbage can. If you came to me after the first night and didn't see it was a garbage can, you say, oh, I got this noise and blah, blah, blah. And I was profound to say, it was a garbage can. Now, I don't know about you, but the next night when I heard that noise, I'd be going, how the heck would he know? He doesn't even live here. I'm going to take a peek. It is a garbage can. So the answer is, we are an animal that to see to believe. Me telling you doesn't do a thing for you. You have to see it. One of the advantages of my system also is there's never an abreaction. Nobody goes screaming into the night. What a load of crap. That's too much TV. But if you see yourself being hung, you're not going to get the butterflies or your neck bothering you. You're going to go, oh, that's all it is. I can let it go. It's always a relief. There's no. But just a little aside here. Your subconscious will actually protect you. If it feels that you cannot handle it in the conscious, it will block it. It's called amnesia. In the current life, often people have seen cases, heard cases where somebody got murdered, a young child saw it, and they just blanked it out because they couldn't handle it. It's protecting you. Mind you, that person, when they're older, often still won't know, but would like to know. But if they come to see people like us or hypnotherapists, we can let them see that by helping them out. But again, if it's still not ready for them to see, it won't happen. But with the past life, it's like, oh, that's all it is. I can let it go.
Yeah.
So, now what happens is that, again, garbage can. You know what it is. Done, no noise. My system also works on cause and effect. Cause and effect. Has anybody here ever had stress?
Never.
Okay. Did you ever get a headache from it? Most people do. And do you take something for it, like painkiller or aspirin or something? On the package, does it say eliminates stress or headache? Headache. You take that, relieves your pain, but your stress is still there. It will come back. What I do by showing you where these things come from, it eliminates the cause. Doesn't come back again. That's what it's about. You still have to learn that lesson, finish that lesson, but it's nice to not be encumbered by the aches, pains, fears, and phobias, debilitating emotions, that type of thing. So that's what I handle. You don't again have to believe in it. I had a fellow, one of my first sessions, or clients I can recall, well, a man came to see me. He said, I got a fear of heights. What do you think the most common fear is?
Public speaking.
Heights. I just gave you an example. It was a hint. Public speaking is about way down here. That's just something more current.
He got shoved off of a building.
No. Anyhow, what happened was he had a fear of heights. And he come in and he said, here you help people get rid of their fears. And I said, yeah. He says, and I don't believe in past lives. And I said, I don't care. Come on in. Now, I did determine whether it was visual or not. One thing here is when we did the lemon exercise, now I do need to know how many people actually saw it and how many just people only sensed it. Who saw it? Who just sensed it? There's a few. The majority is visual. But with my system, it doesn't matter. They both work. Like a blind person doesn't have to see you to know you're there. They can hear you, smell you if you don't smell nice, kick you. But it still works either way. But this guy was very visual. So he comes in, slow him down. I slow him down. And I said, just tell me the things you see when I direct you. So I said to him a very, very simple method that I use. Let your subcon take you back to the past life. Actually, sometimes if they're not sure, I'll say the cause. It's still going to be the past life. That's caused your fear of heights. That's how simple it is. There's no spitting nickels or spinning around or none of that stuff. Just see it. Your subcon is a computer. It goes there immediately. I've heard so many people go look through mirrors and see what you used to look like in a past life. I got about 60 people who've been in the caveman days and still looking through their mirrors. I teach you how to move. I teach you how to move out and watch yourself because your energy is all around you. So I said to him what I just said, the directive. Within moments, he's going, whoa, this is nice. This looks like Arizona. I said, okay, good. I make notes. And he said there's ledges and some mountains and stuff that. And he goes, wait a minute. There's a native Indian male standing on a ledge. What a good imagination I got. And I said, okay. Then I said, but is it your past life? He goes, no, it's my imagination. Then he said, wait a minute. There's another male native Indian come up behind and pushed him off. That's not very good, not nice. I said, probably not. The point where I knew that he was already on the mend was as he said that, he was sitting in the chair, eyes are closed. We started to follow the guy falling off the cliff. And I said, what are you doing? He says, wait a minute. I'm talking about this. His fear was so strong. A lot of people have strong fears that they can't even talk about it. He cannot look at a mountain, he said, without getting the sweats and the butterflies. That's quite strong. So he said, I'm looking at this, watching it. So we finished that, and plus in a session, I actually help you get rid of 2 to 5 or 6 different things. I had a lady in England that want to host us next year. She said, if you're working on somebody's concern and you're there doing it for an hour and a half, what if you're not finished? You go into the next one and hold up everybody? I said, if it takes me an hour and a half to do one, I should quit my job. She's in a modality where it's ongoing. Come back next week and next week and next week. There's therapy out there that does it. So what happened was, then afterwards we have a little chat. And I said, how's your fear of heights? And he went, it's gone. Then I asked him a couple of questions I knew the answer to. First I said, how long have you had that? And he said, pretty well all his life. One little aside, you can have a fear start later in your life. It doesn't have to start from the beginning. And I said, I bet it's affected your quality of life. And he said, yes. He could not take his kids to Disneyland and he could not take his kids skiing because there was a past life fear that had nothing to do with his life. He let it go. I heard from him a few years later and he's bragging. He said, I can really ski good, keep up to my kids now. So that is nice. Your life lesson, when people say to me, I want to know my life lesson, I've already tried. It will never show up. Nice try. You're not supposed to know. I just, if they say, how do I handle it? I just simply say, use your imagination. Use your intuition, your gut feeling. That's basically how you can do this. So, what happened, in fact, the first time somebody asked me that, so I had working with a lady, we saw a couple of past lives, then I said, let your subconscious show you about the life lesson. She said, is it ever noisy here all of a sudden? I said, what? She said, 2 steel doors slammed in front of her eyes, in her mind. And I went, I don't think they want you to see it. Went to the next life, clears the bell. So it was that one. A couple of weeks later, I tried one more time and about her life lesson. And the woman said, aha. She said, my guide's standing right over there. Some people see them, I don't. And he's going, no. Then I had a brain fart. I said, I bet he likes it if I help you get rid of the junk that prevents you from doing your life lesson. And she said something that's kind of touching. He went, yes. So that was nice. So, good example. Let's say you have a fear of heights, and your life lesson is to save her, and she's living on a mountain. She's going to die because you're not going to go up there to save her, or she's stranded up there because you have a life lesson that is being affected by your fear of heights. Mm-hmm. Speaking of fears, we already heard one. Now, just to see if you guys are good at guessing. What do you think the top 4 fears are? Now, we already know heights is number 1. What do you think the other 3 are? No, let's wait till here. Yeah, number 4, deep water. Yeah. having a fear of deep water. Deep water people that have that fear. Generally, pools don't bother you because you can see the bottom. It's the ones you can't see. No, public speaking is more just a thing you learn, an ability. It comes with confidence. So we got heights. We got deep water. 2 more. And not death. Nobody that believes in past lives has a fear of death because you've done it hundreds of times. And you don't die, you come back.
The one where you don't breathe, you get suffocated.
Suffocation. Claustrophobia.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the one I...
yeah. And there's one more. It sounds odd. It's fear of success.
Yes. Oh, that's
It's,
a big one.
you're thinking of it more physical, but it is physical. If you've been killed a couple times in your past life because you were rich, your subconscious hasn't finished that lesson. It says, don't get too rich because we'll get killed. Or that's when people often sabotage themselves. So fear of success, sabotage, they're all in the same category. Easy to take care of. But those are the top 4. Snakes and spiders are actually the 5th, but they're a bit further down the line. 141 fears and phobias. Some are ones of. I had a really unusual one. It's in my book. This lady had a fear of blimps. Blimps. I said, what do you mean? She says, when he goes to the football game, you know those great big blimps that they take pictures of the game. And she said her friends bug her all the time. So I said, let's take care of that. Turned out roughly what it was is she saw herself in the Mediterranean as a fisherman a few hundred years ago, out in a small fishing boat. The water is fairly clear there. And while he was fishing, a whale came up underneath and lifted up and knocked him flying. It wasn't intentional. And he said he was this close to this giant eyeball. And he was just scared like heck. And the whale just swam away because it wasn't there to kill him. But it caused her fear of blimps, the size. Yeah. When she saw that, last time I heard from her, she said her friends don't like me anymore because they can't bug me. But that's how simple. When you see where it comes from, and let's go. So a lot of things. Now, I'm not saying everything is past life. I would say only 98% is past life. I think that's pretty high, isn't it? Yeah. If you had a fear of heights, here's a good example. If you had a fear of heights and you have 100 past lives, if you're a betting person, what's the odds that your fear started in this life? 100 to 1 it didn't. But there's a lot of therapies out there that only work on current life. And if I said go back early in your life to see why you had a fear of heights, it won't work because it wasn't from here. That's why adding past life regression went from 25% to 95%. I'd say about 98% now. The only problem I have with people that have an ache or pain that won't work is if they're on workman's compensation from a job they hate. Let's fix you so you can go back to the job you hate. They can block that. So I go the other direction and say, let's get rid of your pain and let's find another career. Because I can help you find talents from past lives. Anybody have siblings that seem to have different type of talents that you don't, or you hear people that pick up a piano, pick up a guitar, and within months they're playing or piano. Like Mozart was playing a piano at the age of 2 with all his fingers, watching his dad teach his 8-year-old sister. Now, is that something that's clever to learn? Yes, but he's done it before, I guarantee it. Relearning to ride the bicycle. So I can help people find talents if you want to improve a talent. So, now, aches and pains, fears and phobias. An interesting one about how your body cells, subconscious, is powerful and can affect you. Let me explain. Years ago I had a client came to see me. He was in his mid-30s, big guy, bigger than me, I'll say it before you do. And he came in and I said, what is your concern? He said that during the night when he goes to bed, he cannot lay on his left shoulder. He lays on his right only. And when he's on his right shoulder, the door to the room has to be on that same side. He said he's been in hotel rooms where he had to put the pillow at the other end. It's just the way it's been. And the real problem, though, he said, was that every night, 20 to 30 times, he wakes up choking. He rolls over, and he had skin in the back of the doctor checked out. He had skin in the back of his throat, which would flap back and cause him to choke. Now, that's not a very nice thing, is it? So I said, did you do anything about that? And he said, yes. A few years ago, he went and had an operation. He had that skin removed. Now, do you think that helped him? No. I like that when everybody says no. It did. For about 2 or 3 months. Okay. About 2 or 3 months later, it started up again. Doctor went and looked at him again, and he said, doctor couldn't believe it. That skin had grown back. Oh. Your subconscious is very powerful. you hadn't finished a lesson, it puts you physically back to where it was. And that is why it happened. Just like when you said, when you cut yourself, your subconscious can fix it. It can mend you. So I said, let's check this out. So into a session, then I simply say, let your subconscious take you back to the why you have the cause of the choking. It's a very simple system. Within moments, he said, wow, it's... one more thing. Your subconscious has every detail. When I say, what year is this? It'll say 1801. It's really accurate. If you let the conscious sneak in, it'll say, oh, about it. Well, as soon as I hear about, I know the conscious is sneaking in. That's what my job is, to tell the conscious to get out of the way. I insult it because it doesn't have a clue. So, he said, I'm dressed in royalty. I'm on a horse, fancy horse. I got 2 male servants, but they're running beside me. They don't deserve a horse. Then he said, well, I'm not a very nice guy. I said, what are you doing? And he said, well, it was roughly, I don't remember the exact date at the moment, about 1500, I think. He said, I'm on the horse, I'm going to that castle over there. Now, some people, you got to duck, they do start pointing and stuff like that. And I said, why? And he said, well, I'm royalty. The system in those days is that when you visited more royalty, they had to put you up and feed you and amuse you, and because that's the way it was. And he said, I'm not a very nice guy. I have a hard time getting past a month before they suggest that I move along. What happens is when you start off in a past life to do with the concern was the choking, your subconscious will always start off sort of, first of all, showing a bit of who you are, where you are, a bit of a picture. Then I simply say, let your subconscious now take you to the exact point of that life that's caused the concern. So within seconds, he said, oh, and he's watching back. He said, what a nice bedroom. It's nighttime, big bedroom. And, the door is opening. My 2 servants are sneaking in. They're carrying knives. I started to sit up, he said. He watched them. And one of them stabbed him in the left shoulder. Remember, he could not lay on his left shoulder. What do you think the other one did? Slashed his throat. Yes. I hear slashed throats are hard to breathe or something. Just rumor. I don't want to see. That was his choking concern. He hadn't finished that lesson. Didn't really matter what the lesson was. It's just he hadn't finished it. So that was the concern. So once he saw what it is, still had to finish the lesson, but you can let it go. Remember, when you know it's a garbage can, you let go of that scary noise. Mm-hmm. I talked to him 6 months later, and he said, not only is the skin gone, he doesn't wake up choking, and he doesn't care which side the door is on, and he doesn't give a rat's which shoulder he sleeps on. It's gone. Lesson's supposed to be finished, but you don't have to bring in the concerns that are encumbering you. So there's tons of stuff out there. Read my books. I do get people that come in. Through the years, I've worked with thousands of people. I probably had maybe 6 or 7 people that have come in with nothing on their list. Oh, I'm fine. I just want to curious. And I look at them and I go, okay, let's talk for a few minutes. Every single one of them, within 2, 5, 10 minutes, I'll have at least 5 things on their list. One was cracking his knuckles while he was talking to me. I hate that. And I said, what are you doing that for? He said, what? They get used to it. They don't even know. Cracking knuckles. He said, I've always done that. That life, it turned out that he was in dungeon being tortured and they were cutting off his fingers. They weren't nice people. That's book 4. But what his subconscious was doing was letting him know his fingers were still there, cracking them. He stopped doing it immediately. Another lady in Windsor came in. As she was coming in, she was... I said, why are you clearing your throat? And he said, doing what? You get used to it, you don't notice. I said that. She said, most of my life was my friend, she said, but I can't stop it. Her past life was she died in Pompeii. Remember the volcanic eruption, the Pompeii? And it wasn't the heat that killed most of them, it was the dust. Couldn't breathe. She stopped clearing her throat. That's so quick. And they thought they had nothing because they got used to it. Figure it a way of life. Another lady came in and she sat down. She started doing this, crack, 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 crack. I said, what is that about? What? Told her, you're cracking your bone. Oh, it happens all the time. She had died in a life where she fell off a mountain, broke every bone in her body. She stopped doing that too. Another lady, speaking of cracking, come in. She did have a few things on her list, but every time she gets up, her ankles crack for a moment, a couple of cracks. And I noticed that. I said, how long have you been doing that? So, all my life. Let's check that out. Now, that one wasn't, it's in my book, the red one, it's for blood too. what happened was she was part of a gypsy bunch, and the village had captured them because they don't have the best reputation. And they decided to make her, she was a young girl, use her as a example. They took 2 horses and pulled her apart.
Oh.
I know. But it broke her ankles. When she got up after that, she was trying to make them crack and they wouldn't do it. So these are a lot of things that happen. Hearing is another problem, and so is vision. Most of them are past life things. They're not things you're born with. Power suggestion is a big one. How many people have heard that as you get older, your eyesight might start going? What a load of crap. They've proven it won't. But if you believe that you remember somebody's name because you relaxed, that's the problem. Power suggestion. How many men do you know have a bald patch in the middle of the top of their head? Most. I don't. Because I couldn't be bothered believing in them. It's all a lot of power suggestions. As you get older, your memory will start to go. That is bullshit too. Excuse my French. It's the power suggestion. Your subconscious does what you tell it. Be careful what you say to yourself. So, but hearing is an interesting one. Anybody here have tinnitus or hearing concerns?
I know some of my brother has it. She has it.
Okay, oh, you have a little bit? Okay. Tinnitus is, in case they don't know, it's just ringing in your ear. Sometimes it's both, sometimes it's just one. And usually it's consistent. It doesn't stop, take a break, go for a bite. It's there. A lady I worked with, was actually a younger one, she's in her mid-30s. It was in Nova Scotia about 2 years ago. She's in book, the yellow one. What I do when I work with you, when we're ready to rock and roll, you put on headphones. I have a little microphone. I have a little mixer. I talk through it into you. Even though you're right in front of me, it's done. For 3 reasons. One is because I can put boring music into it that you hear and I don't hear to help slow you down. Second is sometimes there's traffic around or planes or trains that doesn't get in your way. But the third main reason is that we do get people with poor hearing, so I don't have to yell. I just turn it up or down. So I said, let's do a sound check. Okay, can you hear the music in the background? She says, what music? Turn it up a bit. No, turn it up really loud. Loud that most people wouldn't listen to it. She said, it's perfect. So I looked at her list. Is there hearing concerns on there? No. How long have you had this hearing concern? She said, how did you know? I said, because it's loud in your ear. She said, since she was about 15, so about 20 years. So I said, okay, let's put that on your list. And so I said, go to the past life, that's the cause of your hearing concerns. Basically, what it was, she saw herself in the early 1900s in Canada, farm, only child. She was about 15, and kind of dilapidated thing. They left the doors open a lot. And Mom was yelling to Dad that there was a rat in the living room. Dad got his rifle out. She was in another room, and she says, I wanted to find out. I'm so nosy. And then she stops and says, in this life, I'm too nosy. We often bring our emotions and traits with us. She went into the room, and the rifle went off. Didn't hit her, but it deafened her in the left ear and almost in the right ear. So that's where it came from. Now, a couple of words to tell you how to let it go. It doesn't take long. Then she immediately said to me, and this, I love doing what I do. She said, can you turn the music down? That's how quick it is affected. It's muscles holding the eardrums in parts so they don't work. As soon as you let it go, the muscles let go.
Yeah,
That's how it works. Very, very simple. And it's such a nice feeling. Because I never know, I've done thousands of these, I never know where you're going to go. That's why I ask questions. Always interesting. If it was just 10 past lives, oh, you got number 3, hurry up and finish it. No, they're always different. But the end result is you let it go. Lots of things. Any questions so far? When I first started off doing this, before I got into past life, remember I said smoking and weight and confidence. This lady came in to see me one day, and she said, I want you to make my husband quit smoking. I said, how much duct tape do you have? He said, he'll just smoke from some other orifice. Some people catch that one. Cookies. But anyhow, what it was is they think that you can make people do stuff with hypnosis. What a load of crap. We help, but you have to want to. You have to want to quit smoking. Quick show here of hands. How many people here still smoke cigarettes? Just one. How many people here used to smoke but they quit? I quit. How many here never smoked in their life? Wow, a lot of people here.
Well, I smoked when I drank, but that doesn't count.
Yes, it does. Okay. It's like being sort of pregnant. Either you are or you're not. Okay. Nice try. So anyhow, but no, like all my kids, they've never smoked. Even Debbie, who you'll see tomorrow when you come in, she doesn't smoke. But the thing is that back in the old days, I got 3 brothers, no sisters, so there were 6 of us in the family, rented us. We all smoked. It was just the way of thing. Everybody smoked, way of life. And we all like to be part of the crowd, so we all smoked. We always laughed, looked funny at people that didn't smoke. Now, things have changed. It's not a majority anymore. In fact, right now the stats for Canada, smokers are only about 19%. Is that a majority? What this? Those ones are still having a hard time, not because it's not popular anymore. It's past life. Most of it is actually Native Indians. One guy said he just felt he had the right to smoke and kept smoking. Sure enough, he was a Native Indian, an elder. It was very, very prestigious to be an elder, but they passed the peace pipe around. He said he hated it, but it was prestigious. He quit pretty quickly. The other time, there are basically past lives that certain conditions occurred that you had to smoke, or anyhow, once you see them, you quit. But the big thing I want to mention here is wait. Not stop, but wait. I'm sure nobody here has ever heard of this, or nobody's ever done it here, but have you ever heard of people going on diets? Okay. And they lose about 10, 20 pounds, and they've been working hard. You're busy eating the rabbit food and stuff. The subconscious has to do what you tell it until you stop telling it, and then it reverts to what it's in the junk level, or past lives. So that is why it pops back, because you haven't finished a life lesson to do with weight. It almost 99%, they'll tell you that it pops back. That's how they stay in business. That's very, very frustrating. Let me explain how you can get rid of your weight. The reason why you have the problem is the subconscious puts it back on because of your lessons that you haven't finished. There's 3 types to do with weight that it's going to work off one of them. One of them is, back in the old days, rich and poor. Who do you think were bigger? Yes, because they had money. It was prestigious to be overweight, big. One guy said the only skinny people he knew was his servants. So, and often they died because they were overweight too, so they didn't finish their life lessons. So when your subconscious says, okay, you've stopped eating your rabbit food, I'm going to put it back on because you haven't finished that lesson, and that's how, in fact, you like being that way too. It puts it back on. Or the other direction is malnutrition. Do you think they fed you well in dungeons? No. Street people begging? No. Often died of malnutrition. So if that's the one that's the cause, your subconscious says, you're losing weight. No, we died that way. I'm going to put it back on again, plus an extra 20 pounds of friends so you don't do it again. And the third one I'm getting more of is actually protection. You were raped in a past life. And in this life, it's a protection so that you don't be as popular, that you're more likely to be. Like one woman said in the past life, she was part of a village. She was one of about 6 beautiful women in the village, the rest are not. And they murdered everybody except the cute ones and took them with them. Probably just for cooking or laundry, I'm sure. Or maybe not. But she said in her mind, if she hadn't been cute and gorgeous, she would at least have been killed and spared what was happening to them, being raped. That is the third one. So if you have one of those 3, and that's what will happen, your weight will pop back in as soon as you stopped telling the subconscious that I'm trying to lose weight. It takes over. Now, if you do come for a session with weight, it doesn't happen all at once. It doesn't lose 20 pounds because it gets very messy anyway. But the interesting thing is, here's some more good news. Ready for good news? Mm-hmm. You don't have to, once you've done that, go on diets again. We don't like diets, do we? They don't work, do they? Your subconscious is powerful. It will start taking the weight off. It'll help you. But you don't have to go on diet. It will actually help you. If you get a craving, you ever get a craving sometimes for maybe salt one day? Mm-hmm. Do it. Don't feel guilty about maybe chocolate cake, chocolate ice cream. Just do it. It's telling you it needs something from that. And go for it. One lady, she said every time she looked in her fridge, she saw stuff in the fridge that was healthy that she didn't remember buying. She started watching. She'd go to the grocery store and she'd be reaching, and her hand somehow started going to more healthier stuff. It was telling her inadvertently. So not only can you lose your weight, but you don't have to go on diets. Lady in Fort Saskatchewan, which is always funny because it's in Alberta, she blames me for losing 126 pounds, but it was a nice blame. But the interesting thing, she was only 170 to start. Just kidding. She was about 300. But just from listening and seeing where it came from and eating whatever urges, it is a healthy thing. So, headaches. There's two types of headaches. Both hurt. Okay. There's migraine and there's stress headaches. Let me explain stress headaches. I said I was going to help you learn how to get rid of them in 60 seconds. Stress headaches come from... Who said that? Cookies. Stress. Yes, I asked simple questions. Stress. What stress is... Now, not all stress headaches are exactly stress. Sometimes just working on computers that are poor light, and sometimes you get, but it'll be the same type of headache. How that works is what happens is the muscles tighten up in your neck. Like that. When they tighten up, it restricts the blood flow to your brain. Your brain is very selfish. It likes blood. It causes the blood vessels to swell up so the blood can get through. When it swells up, it puts pressure on pain nerves. That is what a headache is. It's very simple. How does an aspirin help? Anybody know? What does an aspirin do for you?
Something to do with inflammation, decreases inflammation. No,
Not quite.
that's just a guess.
That's okay. It thins your blood. They tell you to, when you got heart problems, take aspirin once a day. It thins your blood. Now, by thinning the blood vessel can constrict. That's the big word, which takes the pressure off the pain nerves. But does it get rid of the stress? No. Remember, cause and effect. So I'm going to teach you how to get rid of a stress headache in less than 60 seconds. Anybody interested? Okay.
Do I have to give up my computer?
Oh, to cause it? No. Just for a future one. What happened was, I said, I haven't been using that one for the last few years because I realized a few years ago that I haven't had a headache since I was about 21. So at least 10 years, 20, 30. A few years. What happened was that it was in the hippie days. Anybody remember seeing that on the History Channel? Okay. The hippie days. Sorry?
I lived it.
Yeah. I was in Toronto in the village, and a bunch of us had rented a house, and we were doing crafts to, make money or pay for rent. So they were trying to teach me how to make bead rings. Oh, goody. Bead rings. So one day I was in one of the rooms working on it, and it was a poor light situation more than stress, but a little bit of stress. So I got a headache. So I came out to the kitchen, two of the guys were there, and I said, wow, do I have a headache? I was trying to become a hypochondriac, but it didn't work. So one guy said, and this is the two questions you ask yourself. He said, when did you first notice it? And I said, about an hour and a half ago. He said, what were you doing? I said, working on beads. He said, show me the motion. So I showed him the motion. He said, how's your headache? And I went, it totally disappeared. Totally disappeared. But my monkey mind conscious, which has an ego problem, it said, oh, that shouldn't work. And the pain came back. I told that to the guys, and they said, don't do that. Ask those questions again. I did. Disappeared. I found that anytime after that, anytime it popped up, I'd ask those two questions, it disappeared. But after a while, I've never had to do that. I didn't realize that I had actually reprogrammed myself. By having it pop up and ask those two questions, remember, 3 or 4 weeks you can reprogram. So I obviously reprogrammed myself. Because maybe they're still happening, but I don't feel them. So it's been since 21 that I've had a headache. I don't take aspirins. So that's how you do it. Remember what were you doing, or how long ago, and what were you doing?
And you said, you showed us a little he went through some motion.
Yeah.
You get yourself to relive the motion.
Yeah.
And that's
It's a bit of what I teach, by seeing where it came from and what you were doing.
Origin.
Yeah, and let's go. So it's part of what we're doing here. So if you one girl said, well, I woke up, sat up in bed, I had a headache. Well, I said, what were you doing? It says, in bed. What'd you do? I sat up. It disappeared. Interesting how that happens. Now, migraines are a total different thing. How many people here have ever had or still get migraines? Keep your hand up a little higher.
Very
1,
seldom.
2, 3, 4. But you,
Just once, but I do now.
in your life? Once in your life?
Yeah.
This-
Oh, I was looking at.
I never had them before, and then I started learning French and other things.
Okay.
Art, meeting.
Could have been a trigger. But anyhow, there's about 5 of you. Anybody else here used to have migraines, but they don't come back anymore? Okay. Well, you just said you had them.
Mine don't go back anymore.
Oh, just in your whole life?
Experience, yeah.
Oh, well, that's not quite a problem. Sorry?
Oh, you said you're experienced them. Like I have, but I don't have it lately.
Okay. Well, if you haven't got them, there's some people who have them. They can tell you. What it is, sorry, a migraine headache is a different type of headache. It's generally a 2 to 4 day headache. It's not a couple hours. It's generally 2 to 4. And very painful. Sometimes things trigger it worse. Some people have to be in darkness. And one lady says if she smells chocolate, it gets worse. Certain factors. Now, past life is the cause. If you're going to have migraines, you're more likely to be female, and most likely it will start during puberty time. Again, not 100%. Puberty is the biggest change in our life. More people need glasses between the age of 9 and 16 than any other time in their life. It's because your subconscious is listening. Things are coming too fast. I don't want to see what's coming. It adjusts. Actually, funny, I had one lady came to see me. She said she was about 10 years old, and her two of her most popular friends were two girls that were popular everywhere, but they're close to her too. They both wore glasses, and she didn't. So she, in that life, current life, she started sitting at the back of the class and squinting a lot. Within a while, she had to wear glasses. What was ironic is the other two grew out of them. She's now fixing that part up. So it does happen. Migraine. Now, I have 3 younger brothers. My next younger brother actually got migraines. So it does happen to males too. And he said it was 13. Now, just a little aside first of all. Things are changing in the last 30, 40 years. More and more people are not staying with the same spouses. They're not staying at the same job for 30 years, putting the same tire on the car. They're going somewhere else in the world doing totally different jobs. Are you seeing some of that? It's happening. It's because of Earth is changing. We might not be here for another few hundred years. And if we have lessons not finished, you can't do it on another planet. You got to finish it here, so we got to keep Earth going. But we have another factor that can come in. Let's say you had a lesson, and you're just about done, but you died 2 years short. Now, do you want to come back in another life just for a 2-year lesson? You're going to get bored the rest of that life, and you probably do karma, or because you're bored, and now you have to fix your karma. We are doing something different. The average age now is in the 80s. Let's say you had about 22-year life lessons to finish, or 40, whatever. You could fill it up. A lot of us are taking care of a lot of different live lessons, finish them off in the same life. That's why a lot of changes. A good example is my brother, the one with the migraines. He became a computer programmer back in the days when they used to use reels. You remember those way back in History Channel or something? It was a reel. And that was a long time. He did that for about 25 years, him and his wife, and he was married. One day I found out, because we see each other once in a while, but not close all the time. I found out that he had sold his house in Vancouver, everything, and they moved to England to buy a pub. Is that a bit of a change of job, career? Our mother was from Edinburgh, so we do have the right to abode. Now, Mr. Smarty Pants didn't pick the first pub he looked at. He said he went through about 42 different pubs, checking them out. He narrowed it down to 2 pubs, one in Brighton, England. Probably some of you heard of Brighton. The other one was in a town about an hour away from there called Seaford. Ever heard of Seaford? I didn't either. Say Seaford out loud.
Seaford.
Oh, come on, you were louder before. Louder. A bit louder.
Seaford.
Okay, that's the answer to a question. I'm just helping you out now. So, the deals fell through on the one in Brighton, so he bought the one in Seaford. Still more. So he ran the pub for about a year, and he called me up one day, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, it's 4 a.m., I'm sleeping." And he said, "Would you like to come over to England?" And I went, and I hadn't been there before, and I went, "Interesting." And then I started to get a little clearer and going, "Why?" He said, well, I had a fire in the pub, and the insurance didn't cover a back building, and him and I used to do restoration type work. So I said, who's paying for this? And he said, I'll pay. I said, okay. I didn't realize he had a very interesting expression. He had a hidden agenda. Such an interesting sound, hidden agenda. So I get over there, he sits me down, he says, I've been running this pub for a year, and I realize I don't like drunks. I said, those are your customers. He said, I
Good
know.
customers.
I know. But he says, will you run the pub for me? And I said, no. I had been a cop for 8 years. I had enough to do with drunks. Thank you very much. Now, I had learned my trade, this past life regression. And he had a migraine while I was there. I did help him a little bit. And when he had that, I said, when it subsides, but 3 days later, I said, let's take care of that. And he said, oh, yes, please. So session, slowed him down. I said, let your subconscious take you back to the cause of your migraines. Within moments, he's going, I'm a soldier. Now, backing up for a moment. When we were kids, he loved toy soldier. Every Christmas had to have toy soldier. I got the cap guns, cowboy, I guess. And they were metal in those days. And he'd lay them on the floor. We shared a room. Middle of the night, hurt. I'd shoot them with the cap gun and wake them up. Anyhow, so he said, I'm a soldier. We do bring in our likes and dislikes and that type of thing. And I said, what's the detail? He said, I'm 16, I'm British. I lied about my age so I can get over to World War I. And I'm over in the trenches. My first day, I'm in France, and I got to keep the Germans out. And then he goes, but it's been quiet all day. I don't think they're over there. I'm going to take a look. No, I went, oh no, because I knew it would happen. He put his head up, he got shot through the head. Both sides used to keep snipers ready for any twits that put their head up. So he said, never shot a bullet against the enemy in that war. Head got shot. I said, anything else? He says, yeah, it's World War II. I'm a soldier again. That's why he was even stronger. His likes. So I said, what's the detail? He said, I'm Canadian, but I'm over here in England being trained. Because remember, we were part of England, we had to go over and fight. And I said, where were you being trained? And he said, Seaford. We often get attracted to certain parts of the world. I get a lot of people going on holidays to certain countries and they feel like they're home. Or you can't get out of the country fast enough. It depends on your previous lives.
Yeah.
So Seaford, he was being trained though it was probably why he used to take me around the churches. He loved the old churches and graveyards. He was probably looking for his cemetery. Mm-hmm. So I said, what was the more detail? He said, oh, we're being trained for the Normandy raid. Remember the one that just had the anniversary the other day? And a lot of soldiers being trained, a lot of ships were going over. Now, apparently Hitler had heard about this, but didn't think it was a problem. But he also knew that they had big bunkers, cement things, and they had lots of these welcoming machine guns. So he didn't really do anything else. So they're coming over, and my brother was on the first landing craft. And guess what happened to him?
Shot in the head.
Yeah, Cookie for you. He was shot in the head, so I had a brain fart and said, where did the bullets hit you? And he said, both the same place, in the left temple. And I said, they must have come out somewhere because they're big shells. He said, yes, both of them came out in the bottom right. And I could see him starting to realize. I said, where do your migraines start and finish? He said, oh shit. They start up here and they finish back here. That was 1996. He's never had a migraine since. Migraine pills are made of gold. I've heard they're $25 to $50 each. I only heard about it because one lady from Saskatchewan emailed me one time. She said, it's been 18 months since I had a session with you, and I just realized I've never had a migraine. We don't really notice stuff unless it comes back. The only reason she had mentioned it was because her friend was complaining about the cost of migraine pills. 25 to 50, they must have gold in them. And do they cure you? No. It's just the aspirin effect, not the cause. So she worked out that she saved hundreds of dollars by getting rid of the migraines. So if you come in with migraine concerns, I charge you more. Just kidding.
So are you saying then that most migraines are really associated to the head traumas that they've had in the past lives?
Only 100%.
You give a discount if you've been shot, but yeah, I was going to say,
Let me explain.
It's always, is it always shooting or?
No, I'll get to another one, but it is the head.
Yeah.
Okay, now another example, like some migraines travel, like his went from one to the end, some are just stationary. And a little different than a shot is one lady came to see me, she had her migraines, and she always got them in the back of the head, just that spot. Mm-hmm. And what happened was I said, go to the past life. She said, I'm in a back alley, and I'm not very nice. I'm robbing people in England a couple hundred years ago. And I always prided myself that I'm very alert, watching for the police and stuff. But one Bobby, British policeman, had snuck up on him and smacked him on the head with his billy club, knocked him down. And he felt stupid. He went to jail, and he did die in the jail because he stayed there forever. A lot of times you go to prison in the old days. That wasn't the time limit. It's a forget limit. And he felt stupid. So I said, okay, in your current life, and I can take you back to current life, it's there. I said, go in your current life to your last migraine. She said, okay, I'm there. I said, what's going on? She says, I'm doing something stupid. Just like the guy did something stupid, you didn't see the cop coming. I said, go to the one before that. He goes, something stupid. I said, we can do this all night. Okay. It was a trigger, doing something stupid. So it wasn't really a bullet, but still.
So what's the trigger?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's the triggers, and they're very simple. So, and her migraine disappeared too. So that's migraines, headaches. There's so many different things. Like when I finish the talk, I always go, oh, I should have mentioned this, because I've got tons of examples. The latest book is that one down below, which you didn't get a choice of. Nice try. It came out, just picked it up at the beginning of the trip. It is to do with serial killers, Jack the Ripper, World War II atrocities, dungeons, tortures, witches, raping. Raping, if you were a female prisoner, you were raped. A few years ago, a lady came in for a session. Sorry how naive I can be. She said, I got problems with my libido. And I'm going, is that a car? Or is that what's a libido? Yeah. So anyway, I found out what it was. What? So, but it turned out what it is. If you think of the logic, if you hadn't finished your life lesson, you've been in a jail, in a dungeon, and often raped 2 or 3, 4 times a day over years. You think your interest in sex is very high, or the gratification of it, and it's not done, so you drag it with you. That is how we get rid of it, by showing where it came from. So that's what that book is. It's also read for a reason, because of the blood. Here's an interesting one. On my World War II atrocities, they getting gassed and stuff like that. But some of the stories are actually from the clients have been in were actually the 2 of them are high-ranked German officers. Their names are known, I remember offhand. But one of them was very fascinating. I put it in there at the bottom. I said to the people reading it, wrap your head around this one. Listen to this. Female client came to see me. Okay? She had a feeling that she was shot in the head in a past life. So I said, go to that past life. She saw herself as a 17-year-old boy in Germany being interrogated by a Nazi officer. The officer knew that he had seen something. We wanted to find out if he had seen it, and he wouldn't admit it. Okay? 17-year-old boy. My client was that 17-year-old boy. He got shot in the head. Boom. But the interesting thing was that her mother from her current life was also in Germany and worked as a translator. The same time that she was being shot as a boy. 6 years later, she was born to that woman. I know, wrap your head around them. So she, the woman, was the boy killed. Her mother was there in the same era. And 6 years later, she became the daughter to that one. So the little things are interesting. But at least she got rid of her feeling of shot in the head. So there's a lot of things that do happen. Any questions so far? Yes,
I'm curious.
take your turn.
I'm curious. You've talked about smoking weight loss headaches.
Oh, you're
What
making
about
notes.
alcohol? I know. I'm just curious about it because I actually was just learning about this the other day. So it was funny I was invited to this. But what about people who have like alcohol addictions or something?
Oh, addiction, simple.
Yeah.
Addictions are past life.
Okay.
I had one lady, no, it was actually good, male or female, I can't remember offhand, who had addiction to marijuana. It was before legal. Turned out that client was a peasant in, I think, Brazil or something, a few hundred years ago or sometime. And that plantation, they grew marijuana. And every lunchtime, they were given marijuana to smoke. It was like a reward. And it was just a common thing. So in this life, it was a common thing. That feeling came in, but she didn't like doing that. So when she saw it, it drops. Alcoholism is a past life that you drank. There's so many things.
Yeah.
But also little things like asthma, allergies. They're all past life. Remember, 98% of our stuff is past life. And you can't get rid of it, something, if you don't know where it came from. One lady came in, here's an interesting one I remember now. She had an allergy to everything. So I said, well, let's go back to the past life that caused it. She saw herself as a cave woman. I've had a few people there. Now, just a little aside. Immunity. What happened was actually when the white people came over from the U.S. or from Europe, a lot of the Native Indians, over half of the Native Indians died of smallpox. They had no immunity to it. It's not in the big. It's not always in history books that you know top page thing, but a lot of them lost. She went back. She was in the caveman days. She was a cave woman. She was about the last alive in that cave with their clan, and there was about 20 other ones. They're all dead. She was dying. What had happened was it was the Ice Age. When the Ice Age came along, it froze everything. And it started to melt. And she was now in this life. They didn't have immunities to anything that was in that life. And what happened was the animals would eat the plants, and then they would eat the animals. So they were getting all these allergies and poisons. And that took care of her concern there. But there's a lot of stuff. Aches and pains. Now, there's two... When people come to see me, they often have had a condition so long, they've had 20 years sometimes to learn how to pronounce it. They come in with this letter, about 37-letter word. I got blah, 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 and I go, how's that in English? And they'll say, oh, curvature of the spine or something like that. Because two things, I don't need to know what the big word means, and I have no intention of learning it because you won't have to either because it'll be gone. The only two words I bothered to learn is fibromyalgia. What a load of crap. Two of my male doctors laughed when I mentioned that to them, and they said, well, it's a body ache. They do tests to find out where it comes from. When they find that they don't know where it came from, they tell you you've got fibromyalgia, so you'll feel better. So you got a condition. And I have had, probably about, I think it's around 80 to 90 fibromyalgic customers come in, clients come in. To date, how many of them still have it? None. It's a simple body ache, past life. The doctors know that, but they can't quite say, oh, it's really past life, because it doesn't quite look good on their, getting paid by the medical association when they're pushing past life.
Well, is there a commonality between them as to what incident happened in their past life?
No, it's just a body ache. It's not like everybody in the world has got fibromyalgia in the left shoulder. Some have it here, some have it there. It's just something happened. Like one of them was just that fell off a horse and broke her back, and her fibromyalgia was pains in the back. See it, it's gone. Mm-hmm. The other one that's a bit of a BS thing is actually called arthritis. It's not really real. It'll be real. You'll feel it. Remember, your body cells duplicate the ache or pain from the past life. If you got what it looks like is arthritis, it causes that part of your body to tighten up, and generally the joints. When they tighten up, it's not functioning properly. So slowly you'll start getting the swellings and stuff like that because it's just not functioning well. So it's not really what it is. It's called arthritis, but it's not a disease or something. It's past life. A lady came in to see me about 2 years ago. She came in and her hands were about like this, could hardly move them. For about 6 years, she was in her 50s. Couldn't move them other than maybe pick up a little bit. Yet a lot of her kids helped her a lot. She said it was arthritis, and some of the joints were crooked and stuff like that. Let me explain something more first. When your body cells duplicate the ache or pain from a past life, it tightens up the muscles. But if it's not sorry enough to duplicate, it will take some of your bones and put them out of joint to hurt. So I said, let's see the past life it came from. Sure enough, she'd been in a dungeon, and because they're so nice there, they decided to take a hammer and smash her hands. It happened. We're not nice people then. Of course, we're nice now. No war, nothing going on. They smashed her hands. There's where it came from. So there's a couple little things I say how to let it go when it takes a moment. And I said, in the session, I said, now move your hands. She put her hands up, and it was like a Rice Krispie commercial. Snap, crackle, pop for about 10, 15 seconds. And her eyes are closed, but she's going. Then all of a sudden, it was gone. It cleared up. A little bit of residue because some of them had got a little calcium, but it'll disappear. Some get arthritis in their wrists and their ankles. Quite often it's chains and dungeons. They didn't take them off for a pee break. In fact, a lot of people with leaky bladder problems is from dungeons. After a while, you just pissed yourself, in your pants because they didn't let you out. Some did have maybe a hole in the ground or something, but you just finally let it go. I used to think that constipation was similar, that you wouldn't hold it. Then I realized from talking to a few more clients that they didn't feed you enough to bother having to have a bowel movement. So that's similarity to, in your current life, to having constipation. So there's lots of different things come from dungeons. Even fear of rats. Anybody like rats?
No, right.
So, if you're in a dungeon, you might start playing with them because that's the only person that you would have, sort of thing. But it's all part of that. So basically, now, training. Through the years, I've had, in the last 7 or 8 years, I've had people that wanted to train to do what I do, and I've held training classes. Generally, it's in about 2 or 3 different cities, and people come to them because they can't go to your city because I got to pay for hotels and all kinds of stuff. And some actually do come to Windsor. Pardon me. I've actually done a training class in Mexico and one in Australia. Yeah, they're live, classroom, you work with each other, I work with you, that type of thing. Classroom. But in the last while, I'm still getting a lot of people that just like to come in the 3rd year of someday. It's just a lot of people can't take time off work. It's 7 days, but it's like 12-hour days, but I teach you how to learn with a lot of relaxation. And they just couldn't do it. So I'm going to now do my training online. This guy here helped me today. He videoed me today doing some of the videos I'll use. But it's not all video. Here's the video, or 2 DVDs. Good luck. Call me when you're finished. That is sad. It will not happen. But people have actually tried doing things like that. It'll be a bit of video on some of the common parts, but it'll all be one-on-one, me talking to you, dealing with you on Skype. You'll get a volunteer to work with. I work with that. You watch. You do get a script, and then you work on them. So it is live, and I can still do this in Mexico. then don't have to put my nice shoes on. So that's going to happen. So in the next little while, when the Michael finishes those, I'll start doing that. I will be holding one live one in Windsor in the first week of August, because I do have a few people that still want to do live. So that will be available. If you're interested in training, though, just come see me. And a thing I totally forgot to do, we still have a moment, is I have a newsletter that comes out once a month. I use that more for telling what's coming up and that type of thing. If you're interested, to put your email address and stuff. And please take a moment. I's and L's, hyphens and underscores start looking the same when you scribble them down. So take a moment and pass it around. You don't have to come on to it. If you don't, we'll look at you funny. Anyhow, pass it around. So I'll give you a few more minutes. So the training's available.
About,
Sure.
mental illness, do you have any examples of that?
Well, a wet way. Like, what would you say the illness is?
Schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Bipolar.
Okay, I haven't worked with an awful lot of those, but things from the mental, again, it's still past life stuff. Sometimes, though, it's lessons. See, when we come into the human form, we have a lesson to do, but sometimes you'll come in to help your soul group, a couple of members, because you got ahead of them, because you had learned something more. So you come in sometimes, like a baby dying after a couple hours or a couple of days, people say, what's the lesson for the child? Nothing. It's for the grieving of the parents. So that does happen too. And we pick our parents. I get people say, what the heck would I pick them for? What it is that when you come into the human form, we pick a family. Say, everybody in our family, all the way up, they all have diabetes, they all have cancer, they're all mean to each other, abusive. We pick those lives because sometimes we have to learn how to get cancer and get rid of it. Or that. When we're born, as I started to mention, we come in healthy unless it's a lesson that you're supposed to be not well. But abusive parents, Abusive parents. If you had random picking, or and you're supposed to learn to be abused, it's like, oh God, I got the happy couple again. I got to wait another lifetime to start again. So you do pick abusive to learn from stuff like that.
So if we had lessons to learn,
Mm-hmm.
why would we choose to die 5 or 10 or 20 years earlier than
We don't.
if the lesson is not complete?
No, those happen because it wasn't your choice. If you get run over by a train and you didn't know there was a train there, that's we die sometimes too soon. We don't choose to die too soon. If you haven't got the lesson done, we try to stay long enough to do that. But again, you could get killed.
The role of our subconscious mind to keep us safe till the lesson is learned.
Not really. No. Things just happen because they can't control maybe a pilot in a plane, flying, that kind of thing.
Do you believe that if we've learned our lesson, it's time to die?
Yep. Apparently, we come in to learn to. Okay, soul groups are put together. Apparently, if you read Michael Newton's books, we're still being evolved. They're making new souls all the time.
Yeah.
Don't ask me too deep. I don't know, but it happens. So there is new souls and old souls. That expression, new souls old souls doesn't mean that you've been around a long time. It just that you learned more, and whatever. Like one lesson, this one lady, she had to learn patience. So I got a brain fart. I said, let me stop going and tell you, how many lives have you now tried to learn that in? She said, oh God, 114. I said, I think it's time to finish it because you're going to still be stuck here. So that helps when you see it to know that what not to do. And so apparently when we do learn our lessons, yes, we don't have to come back. Earth is one of the hardest places to learn lessons. I know it might be hard to believe for some people, but we've actually had past lives on other planets. We're not the only thing out there. And apparently they're not that hard to learn lessons on. Earth, it's like, oh God, do I have to go there? Because Earth is a dense planet. What it means is we do drag with us emotions. The biggest emotion we drag from life to life, what do you think the biggest emotion is? One word, starts with a G.
Yeah.
Guilt.
Who said that? No, guilt. Guilt. No, not grief. Guilt. We've dragged guilt with us. A lot of people I see that are guilty, feel guilty about everything. They have no reason, they don't know why. And the next one is actually kind of funny. It's doing something stupid. There are some people out there that just can't handle being embarrassed, doing something silly, and that's number 2. But guilt is the biggest one. So now, if we finish, we don't. Apparently, according to Michael Newton's books, we move up to other jobs. There's other occupancies. You can do the reviewing of the lives that we have. You can be in the healing room. Apparently, we are good at screwing ourselves up in lessons, and our soul group doesn't want to see us anymore. You have to go to a healing room, a healing group. Not like an actual room, but a healing area. And that's where you get stuck lives. So I'm just going to finish on that one. Our energy is so strong that we can actually be in more than one body at one time. We only generally need 10% of our main energy to occupy a body. The body on its own, they've worked out, would just be the same equivalent of an ape. It's we bring in with our energy the talents and all these things. But because it's strong, more in the last 200 or 300 years, we're actually going into more than one because we have so many lessons not finished, and we're trying to hurry up and finish them. So it's like, say, if you want to be in 5 bodies, you could say, you take 3 of my lessons to finish, you take 3, and we hand them out. Hand them out. But unfortunately, you can be affected by these they're called paralyzed. You might have heard of that or not, but it's what they are. We can be affected by them because they don't usually know anything about it. And let's say one of them is always angry, they don't know to keep it to themselves. Because let's say you had 4 others, and they all have different things and characteristics, it still dribbles back into your main energy. You're part of it. So sometimes you ever get the feeling like you just won a lottery out of the blue for a few minutes, then it's gone, or you feel depressed for no reason just for a few minutes. It's one of them are getting that. If it's really bothering you, we can find out, and I'll have you go and see that one and tell them to keep it to themselves. They usually do. Or you can threaten them that you can screw them up. But then really they go along with it because they realize you're all part of the same energy. You work with each other. Some just didn't know it. But on the other hand, we have stuck lives. When we die, we go to the soul group. We don't have to. And sometimes we don't. Sometimes that emotion that you died at will hold you there. One of them is revenge. I'm going to kill that guy that killed me. One is confusion. Am I really dead? Another one is I got to help my family. Well, hello, you're dead. A little hard to do. And you'll still be stuck there, and they could have died 400 years ago. We don't notice that we're still stuck there, or still things to do. Anybody here ever get a stuck feeling a lot in their life? They feel stuck, they just can't seem to move on. It's one of you've got a stuck life that you've got in your way, in your face. So what I do is in the session, I'll also say, let your subconscious show you, do you have any lives you're still stuck in? Haven't left, still hanging around? And if so, how many? So sure enough, most of us still have some. Now, some people might have 2 or 3, some have 10 or 15. In a session, I don't have 3 hours to cover them. I do let your subconscious pick the one for sure that it knows you should take care of. So then I have you find that one, find out how old it is, why they died, why they're still there, and then go and see that one. And I always say, how do they react in seeing you? Most of the time it's surprise or angry or why are you here? Then I just simply say, tell them it's time to go home. Take their hand, and sure enough, they usually give you their hand. And as they leave, getting further and further from that life to the soul group, they feel better about going home. Once you take them home, that feeling that they're stuck with. I had a lady that had a fantastic life, but she always felt angry. No reason. Sure enough, one of her stuck lives was angry all the time. Angry and held it there. Took it home, and she started sitting up in her chair. She says, this is what anger gone feels like. I love it. Now, do you think if she went to therapy for anger, day in, day out, or over years, is it going to help? It's nothing to do with current life. So unfortunately, a lot of therapy, well-intentioned, doesn't work as well. Cause and effect. I mean, if you do therapies, you can at least add what I do, but you'll find that what I do basically covers most things. Get rid of the cause, you don't have to do the other things. I had a couple of massage people I asked, you ever get the same customers coming in with the same pain or aches all the time?
Yeah.
Another quick one is, see, time goes by fast. A real quick one here. I was in one city a few years ago, and one of the clients that came to see me after my talk, she said, I got lower back pain. Anybody got lower back pain? It's quite common, Sorry? Yeah. And she said, my husband sent me. And I said, oh, interesting. He's a chiropractor. I looked at her and said, why in the heck would he send you? She said, last year when you were in our city, he had sent a male client who he couldn't fix his lower back, and I fixed it. I didn't realize I was on test. So he figured it was safe to send his wife to see me, and I fixed her. It wasn't like a miracle or something. I just got rid of the cause. Chiropractor's a good trade. They got rid of my frozen shoulder, but none of those is current life. It's the current past life. So, like I say, what I do covers an awful lot of stuff. Get rid of it. Ongoing therapy might keep you in business, but you're not going to have happy people if they keep having to come back. Make sense? Michael Newton, or Dr. Brian Weiss, the Many Lives, Many Masters, psychiatrist. That book is all about one lady. He admitted in his book, 18 months of psychiatry, he could not get rid of her problems. He did use hypnosis, but just current life, go back, current life, go back, current life. He said after about 18 months, one day she's in that state, and she started describing something. He realized that wasn't current life, and he just thought, I'll go with it. And he said 6 weeks later, he got rid of all her problems. I go, what took 6 weeks? But he still has, good, but he still has the mentality. He has people come in for 2 sessions to learn how to relax first. I'm sure he does it for free. No. In a session, I have you relax enough. So, but either way, at least he learned that past life is a very, very viable therapy and works quite well. So, I think I've covered as much as I can. Thank you. Look at that. See, 2 hours go by fast. You don't need a break. And thank you very much for coming in. Now, if you do need sessions, I forgot the, the infomercial. Okay, I do sessions. They're an hour and a half, and it's $150. And if you want to do a session, I do need to give you a little form to fill in, just to list put your shopping list down of what you want fixed on. And I'll be back here tomorrow, starting at starting about noon and right through till about 5. I stop because my wife's doing her evening of clairvoyance. Now, she does need about 10 people because you get your money's worth, because it's the same price as this, but if she only has 2 people and she gives them both readings, a little hard to make them last 2 hours. It's just not going to work. And then she'll say it's all done and they'll go, I paid for 2 hours. So she does need at least 10 people. She's got how many so far? A few already?
I think I've got 4 or 5
Okay.
for sure.
So I see enough
I
here.
haven't
So
gotten
okay.
100%.
Who might just come tomorrow night to find out how to get a reading? She'll give you readings. I've actually seen her give readings for a group of up to 33. She had to cut them down a bit. 92 we had a group and didn't quite get to them all. But under 20, so come on in. Starts 7 to 9, and so she's not here tonight. Often she helps me, but she realized that I had this guy here helping me. So she comes in. She'll come in tomorrow. So I can do sessions. Actually, normally she will take care of it, but come up and mark down it.
You're available for sessions?
No, and then on the next day, both of us are available for readings and sessions. Like she just had 17 sessions in Chilliwack, and she beat me, but I beat her in Kelowna. No, it was a little competition who gets some more, but it doesn't matter. It's all in the same pocket sort of thing. So come on out tomorrow. Anybody said they're coming, so I can tell her good news. And if you want sessions, come and see me before you leave, and we can fix that up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're too kind. You're too kind.
I thought you were Greg Braden in that.
Sorry?
I thought you were. Walked in and, like I was looking at Greg Braden's show on iTunes.
Yeah.
You look